years, or 80 years. And every so often, certain things stand in your mind. More often, I think, is...
Here, I'll do this.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I think I broke it.
No, I know how to do it.
Do you know how to do that? Yeah, it goes in the hole. I can see where it goes in the hole, but here, let me get in the hole. It just has to kind of sit up like that, or it'll fall off.
No, this goes. That's it. That's it.
Okay, what I wanted to do is I wanted to get it around
Yeah.
here where I could get some light on your face.
I think you can now.
Does that
Maybe
fall
you-
off? That's not even hooked in there, is
No.
it? That's just kind of, Alex, you need a new light. All the time. There, well, that's okay.
Well, anyway, every once in a while, you think of things happen and so forth, and more often comes to me different things happen in school. And I thought that maybe it'll be a good idea to mention there's such a difference in school that is just unbelievable. You know, the people that I told about, they just couldn't believe that's what they're doing up there in Russia, you see. But the building itself, there's only two of this type of schools in the whole city of Kiev. And they are under government-controlled schools that they call the classical schools. Number 1 and number 2, you see. And it's just built on the tradition and a bunch of rules and regulations that they do it only what they do, not comparing to any other schools or anything like this. For instance, all the teachers are in uniform, and the uniforms mark there how many lengths, how many they've been teacher. 1 stripe, 2, 3.
Is that right?
Then the white stripe is 5 years, double white is 10 years, and so forth. With the gold buttons, a blue jacket, and there's quite a. They have the tradition of the principle of teaching is entirely different, because they take like each lesson that they teach is divided on numbers, like usually it's 60 to 70 numbers, and each number represents a lesson of this particular subject.
Okay.
So when it comes to the examination, they have a ticket system. So on the table, there's 70 numbers on the table, and they call your name, and you pick out the ticket. You pick out the ticket and give it to the examiner. They're not in any particular rotation or anything, you know. And then they examine you from what you drew. You see.
So you'd have to know them all because you wouldn't know which one you're going to draw.
Yes. Oh yes. And I do that on every subject. See, the number of the subject that they teach, I think in the final examination that was 23 subjects. That you have 23 different examinations to finish your course for a year in CC. And another thing that they have is that each person receives diploma every year, and the diploma is very prestigious. It's about 18 inches long, and like a portrait with a very fancy gold
Seal.
seal is all around, and and the name of the professors or whatever it is.
What was the name of the school? You said it was a classical school, number 1 or number 2?
Yeah,
Now, did you go to number 1 or did you go to number 2?
Two.
Yours was number 2. Were number 1 and 2, were they competitive with each other?
Kind of, yeah. They compare.
Did you play any sports against?
Yes, we do, and particularly in
school
racing.
number 1?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And the social things too, like they give a dance in the later years. The number 1 gives a dance. They invite us to join them. You see, and each school have the corresponding ladies school. And the ladies are the same way. They're dressed all in brown and all this kind of thing for
Now,
years.
you said what the teachers wore. What did you wear? Wait, hold on just a minute.
Yeah.
I think I need a new battery. I'm going to stop this just for a minute. Put a new battery on. Alex, you said you were saying what the
Uniforms.
teachers wore uniforms.
Yeah. The students.
What did your
The students have a black trousers and a black shirt with the silver buttons and a belt with the silver buckle. And they're all the same, and for all eight years that you go to school. In addition to this, we have a bunch of regulations, and each students receive the passport-like with the regulations that you have to obey all the rules and regulations. You cannot go outside at night, for instance, without uniform. The coat uniform is a gray uniform, gray coat with the buttons now. And they stop you at the school directors or whoever they are, if you are doing anything out of line, you know. And in the regulations, they tell you what you can do as far as the hours are concerned.
So it really went beyond just your school time.
Oh yes.
That they even regulated you in your off time.
Oh yes, definitely. Definitely. And of course, a lot of benefit things. For instance, for education, we have schools in the opera house. All the seats in the opera house, and a certain area of the orchestra, like a back of the orchestra, is for students. And they're very, very reasonable prices. Or like a 50-cent ticket or something like this.
So did you attend the opera very often?
All of the operas.
Let me ask you this. When you came to the United States, did you go to the opera in New York?
Yes, a couple times, yes. Because I live right there.
What did you, was the opera, did you feel comfortable at the opera in New York? Did you feel that, were they the same operas? Were they the same?
Yeah, different language.
Different names, but
Right,
same music, same composers, same...
Surely. And then they have in every city, they have besides the opera house, which is always very pretentious, and usually it's in the square, like, you know. And in the opera house, I think it's about 6 stories high or something like this. And they have all kinds of promenades inside, and the intermission and all this kind of thing, lodges for a tsar, all the second floor, like. And
Alex, did you ever see the Tsar when you were young?
No.
He never came to Kiev?
Oh yes, yeah. We were always on the parade, you see.
But did you see the Tsar?
Oh sure.
Was it Tsar Nicholas at the time, or?
Yeah, Nicholas.
And he would come for a parade?
Right. Oh yes.
How far is Kiev from Moscow?
About 180 miles, 200 miles.
So it was long John.
Right.
Now you did go to Moscow, didn't you? Did you say that you took a trip with your father when you went to Moscow?
Yeah.
Or several times?
No, a couple times.
How did you go? Did you go by train or?
I think so, by train, yeah. Must be by train, because my father was in charge on the national control of transportation. So all the railroad cars were under my father's supervision, you see. And he distributes where they are to go and all this kind of very complicated thing, you know. And also, every city of any size, they always have a drama theater as a special thing, you know.
Sure. Like the
Once
Dallas
in a while
Symphony
they
Hall.
use that, they use it for a concert of the singers and whatever it is. The things that I have never seen anywhere else in the theater and drama theater. A sketch, kind of a living room and the entrance to the house with a mirror, you know, for a decoration, you see. And the artist comes home, you see, and he takes his hat and hangs up his coat, looks at the mirror, and he decides that it's not worth doing what I'm doing, and very complicated verse of words of what he's saying, you see.
Now, is this in the opera or is this a play?
It's in the play.
Uh-huh.
And finally he takes a gun and shoots himself in the state hotel. It was scary.
Oh, it was like he really did it.
Yeah. That was interesting. But anyway.
Was that one of the plays that you remember particularly? Do you remember the name of that play?
No.
But you remember seeing that when you were a student, or?
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Well, you're talking about that your teachers wore uniforms, but your father also wore a uniform. Didn't everybody wear a uniform?
Well, a lot of it. My father didn't wear a uniform regularly. Only as an official duties, you know.
But when he went to work during the day, would he just wear a suit, or?
Regular suit.
But did he had a uniform that he would wear
For special
occasions?
That's right.
Had he ever been in the military?
No.
So uniforms weren't necessarily associated with military
No,
like they
not
are in our country.
Professors in college, for instance, they have their uniforms. All the attorneys have their uniforms.
Can you?
Well, anyway.
We're talking about your school. Did your school have a specific name in Russian? What was the name of your classical school? Did it have?
Kievskaya Vtoraya Gymnasiya.
What does that mean? That means?
Kiev's second classical school.
And say it again in Russian.
Kievskaya Vtoraya Gymnasiya.
Gymnasia?
Gymnasiya.
Gymnasia?
That's right.
What does gymnasia mean?
That's the
Is that school or is that
school.
classical?
That's a classical school.
Oh, that's...
Germany has it too.
Well, is it... What do you have to do to get into that school? You can't just be anybody. What are the requirements to get into that school?
First, where you go before, of course, we had the governesses, my sister and I, ever since we were babies, you know. And we went to school, what do they call them? They call the daytime school.
Preschool, daycare, or nursery school?
Well, but it goes higher. You go there until you're 11 years old.
Oh, so elementary school?
Yeah, 11 years old. See, then you enter into gymnasia.
I see.
11 years old.
But these are like private schools,
Right.
right?
Right.
Only the wealthy
Right.
send their children to the
Right.
private schools.
Right. And I was going to say, you have a lot of entertainment to go with it, you know what I mean?
With your school?
Yeah, to go to somewhere, there's always something going on.
Social events?
Social events, you see, the different schools.
Dances?
Right,
What about, you talked before about the sports.
yeah.
Sports was a
It's a big, very big.
Very, very big. What
Yeah.
what sports were you involved in?
Well, regular gymnastics was a regular part of your course, you know, and skating and bicycle racing. And then they had a track, but it's kind of a limited idea of running right around the circle. But the facilities are fantastic. That's like a winter time, they have a skating rink. That is something to see, you know, with a place for spectators and the orchestra and everything else.
Did you play anything like ice hockey or any
No,
kind of
I
game like that, or was it
I did, but I didn't play hockey.
you weren't involved in
No.
that?
But the skating was my thing,
Racing.
racing. You know, special kind of a skates from Norway, Norwegian skates, and under supervision of the instructors, you know. You have a regular practice. This kind of a thing.
Well, now, when you went to school, did you? How long did you go to school? Did you get there at 8 o'clock in the morning and come home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or?
No. The first lesson starts at 9 in the morning, and the last one at 6 o'clock.
That's
You
late.
get out. Oh yes, in the winter time it's dark when you get out.
Tell me about your sister. I don't think we talked very much about your sister. How much older or younger was she?
1 year older.
She was older than you?
Yes.
Wasn't she married by the time you left?
No.
I thought that she said that she had a baby or something
No.
like that.
I think I had a picture of somebody. My mother sent a picture of my. I don't know how I got that through the consul or something after I left Russia. That she's married to some engineer, and she moved to Moscow, I think. And she had a baby, I think that's it.
But you don't think that she is alive, or what do you think
I have
happened
no
to her
idea.
during the war?
I have no idea.
Would there ever be any way of tracking her down?
No way. No way.
When we're just kind of rambling, Alex, but
Yeah.
that's okay because when things come up, I was wondering, what was the last correspondence that you had with your mother? Did you have any correspondence with your mother after
No.
you went to Turkey?
No, I think I sent two letters to a friend of ours who was going to France, and some way he thinks he can find a way to get it from France. The letter.
But you didn't ever get any response from that or anything?
You just started it.
Yeah, we're chatting. Let's go
Did
stand
I
in
ju-
front.
Did I just,
No, that's okay, we're just chatting. I mean, it's not even,
everybody wondered where you were. They think you
Yeah.
snatched me out without you hanging onto my hip.
we were talking about your school. You know, what was interesting too is that you were telling me about your mother's family's business.
Yeah.
Can you tell me something about it?
Yes, well, all that family is very close to our family. So they are from Crimea, Odessa.
Odessa. Your mother was born and raised in Odessa?
She was, yes, then she married my father and they went to Kiev.
Was your father born in Kiev?
Yes,
Okay, just for old time's sake, tell me your mother's full name and your father's full name.
Anna Afanasyevna Guseva.
Uh-huh.
Her maiden name is Anna Afanasyevna Suvorova. That's the big name, Suvorova.
Uh-huh.
Because her name goes back centuries back. In fact, Napoleon was defeated by Generalissimo Suvorov. He's my mother's teen, so to speak. You see. And
Didn't you say, it seems like I remember you saying that he was sort of like the George Washington of
you're right.
Russia,
Oh yes.
that he was very
Right.
noble and
Oh yes. Yes.
sort of a founding father
And
figure.
internationally known. And he's in a culinary
I was gonna say, wasn't there
They
a
have a
dish
Kiev,
made?
chicken a la Kiev,
Uh-huh,
and another one, he had his name, Swarf. Chicken, I forgot what it was, something like Swarf.
well, tell me about your mother's family.
And
Did you say they were in the grocery business?
well, this is her Swarfs are the big distributors of food and retail stores, Swarfs, and they're all over the country. And we have 2 stores in Kiev. What my father was running, you see.
Now, wait a minute, you said that your father was running those stores, but what about with the trains? You're talking about-
Oh yeah, this is a
He was doing
separate,
both?
oh yeah. He still did that, particularly during the war. He was a big wig as far as this, to control who gets the
The supplies?
cars.
Uh-huh, oh,
You know what I mean? How many cars will go there, this and the other thing, you see. And the store was very well supervised anyway, so he didn't have to be here too much.
Did your father travel very much?
Yes,
Did he ever travel outside of Russia?
yes, France. France, and in fact, he got interest in a sardine factory in France called Frère Canot Sardines, to bring it into to Russia, and all the stores, you know, were distributed. And he got financial interest in the Canot Frère. See, I saw the sardines in the Neiman Marcus store when they had some fortnight or something. Apparently they're still in business.
Did they actually, then did he actually import them into Russia, those sardines?
Oh, yes.
He did that, so he actually went to France, got the sardines and brought them back to...
Right.
Did you eat beluga caviar?
Oh, yeah, we handled that. Yeah.
Did you eat it?
In
Did
the
you-
store, sure.
Was it as expensive then as it is
Yes.
as now? Was it still a delicacy even?
In the store, they had one section of a store, the back of a store, was a glass counter like. And inside of a counter was the caviar and the beluga caviar, Sevruga caviar, all kinds of caviars. And then the caviar, pressed caviar, which is a more expensive type.
A pressed caviar?
Pressed,
Yeah.
pressed like you see. It comes in a cubes, like the squares, and it's sliced with a knife.
Almost like pate, you mean?
Something like this, yeah. It was a very popular item. And
Have you ever seen pressed caviar anywhere else? I've never even heard of it.
Oh, yes.
Do you see it here?
Yeah, I've seen it in New York, but I haven't seen it here. I don't think so, but they might have it.
You were talking about cheese at your parents' store. The big Swiss
Yeah,
cheese
oh, yes, yeah,
that they brought in.
yeah.
Can you kind of give me an idea of how big these stores are? Were they like big markets, or were they?
Well, like a Tom store, for instance, that kind of stuff. But a lot of things are in the back of a store. In the back store was a big ice cabinet, like, you know, they bring ice in the winter time, and they keep that ice all winter. And then they have a dry storage facilities, and that's where they get that cheese, Swiss cheese. They're about 100 pounds, circles like this, and they roll them. See when they bring them up. They roll them, and they put them in stalls. So then they have to walk, somebody walks around them, and they have like a stopper, metal thing with a like this with a hole inside. And I push it right in and pull it out and break it off and put the other part in. That's what see the holes in Swiss cheese.
That's how they make the holes in the Swiss cheese?
Well, that's how it's already made,
Uh-huh.
but I think they need to, for the air to get through there. I don't know what the actual story
Oh.
is.
That's interesting.
Then also in the back of a store we had a tower for dry foods, dry fish. You have to climb out. When you go up about 6, 7 floors up. One is very, very small, you know. And you would get in on each platform and you can hang up the fish to dry. See? Some of them died there for 3 or 4 weeks and all this.
I bet there were some interesting smells.
No, it doesn't, because it's right all open, you know.
Oh, it was open, I
It's
see.
open, it's open, and all of, like nets,
Oh, I see.
iron nets, you see.
Uh-huh.
Not only wooden things and to
Yeah.
get around.
Tell me about the house where you grew up. What did it look like and what street was it on? You remember the address, didn't you?
Yeah, oh yeah, Bassene ulica. Bassene ulica. It's very close to the main street in Cresciati. We're not far from Cresciati. And there are two houses, one number 5A and 5B. And we own both of them. And we live in 5B. In the second floor, it's a huge place with like a garden for the show, not to play there, you know what I mean, all fenced around. And it's not a big, not tall house. I think it was 3 floors. 3 floors, and very long. We had a second floor was our floor. And there we had one part of the house was with a separate entrance, like. So the one that with a separate entrance was, I think it was 6 rooms in the line, single rooms, and they were for the employees of the store, or buyers, or whatever it is.
Was that at 5B or was that at 5A?
5B.
In your building, in your house?
Right.
Sounds kind of almost like a building more than a house.
Right, oh yes. Then at the end of this corridor that has a special entrance in there, you know, was my room right there.
Backdrop isn't very good looking.
What?
Well, we're really just getting more of the conversation than
Right.
you were saying that but what was on the first floor? You said that you're living,
Yeah, I rented.
you rented the first floor.
Somebody that we knew, you know.
And then you lived on the second floor, and then what was on the third floor?
Nothing.
Nothing? And then what was at 5A?
It's a building, the same thing as ours, only the next one.
So were there,
The next entrance,
so you just had some neighbors that lived over there in that
Right.
place?
right.
Where did the people live that worked for your family? Did you have someone like a maid or a cook
Oh,
or
yes.
anybody like
Oh,
that?
yes,
Did they stay at
yeah.
your house or
Oh,
did they,
sure. Right
did they
there.
have their own houses?
Yeah, the kitchen was a special part of the rooms, and they had one room for the cook, bedroom, you know, and another room for entertainment, whatever it is, you know. And Second part was an open kitchen. That's where the samovars is for the tea and, all this kind of thing. Stoves, all the ice boxes and everything else. And then from there you go into regular first, from the kitchen, the first room was a dining room.
Are you going to?
Last call, do you need anything? I can only go to the drugstore.
No. No, what do you have?
What time is it, Alex?
I gotta take popcorn
Oh,
out.
3:30?
3:30.
Okay, all right, good.
And this dining room had, I think it was
Bye-bye.
20 seats. Table in the middle. So with a big chairs like this,
Tall chairs,
Yeah.
tall backs on them?
Right. And it wasn't a wallpaper, it was some kind of a, not a metal, but kind of a,
What, in the dining room?
yeah.
Or was it
The
fabric?
beauty.
You're
No,
talking about
it's
the
not.
walls?
Yeah, the walls. It's beautiful.
Were they ornate?
Yeah,
What
very
color were they?
Greenish. Greenish. All around the walls. Then the other paper, regular wallpaper like.
I wonder what that was. Did you say it's kind of like metal?
Yeah, what do you call it? Know what it is? Like a linoleum on the.
Is it sort of like pounded tin? Sometimes you see really
Yeah,
ornate,
something like that. Yeah.
where it's pounded, where
Right.
the designs are pounded
Yeah,
out on
but
it?
I don't think it was metal. It's kind of-
Well, did your family eat around that big table every night, or was that
one,
only for?
yeah, one part. Yeah, all of us in one end.
Well,
They don't
so
just-
there was you, your mother, your father, and your sister?
Right.
So the four of you would sit at that great big
Right,
table?
Right.
Did it seem
Not,
that,
you have your little place, that you sit there all the time, but we had a lot of companies anyway.
you did have a lot of company
Oh,
entertainment?
yes.
Well, you had a lot of relatives, didn't you?
Yes.
You said that you were close to your mother's family. Were you
Right.
close to your father's family too?
No, because he's come from the north.
Oh, I thought he came from Kiev.
No, he came from closer to St. Petersburg.
What's the name of the town where he was raised?
I forget. He owned villages. I think it was 17 villages. Each one is half a mile long, whatever it is, in that area. And it was all his. And he took me over one winter time. We went over there and like a big thing, archways with his name, and they meet him. You go and stay at their house and show how they make milk, and they have a special process of baking milk in jars like this, in the oven, like
They bake milk?
baked milk, yes.
How do you eat baked milk?
Yeah, it's cold, but it's rose color, like,
It is?
yeah.
What does it taste like? Do they add any
Delicious.
sweetener to it, or is
No,
it?
delicious.
What is it like pudding, or what is it
Creamy.
like?
Just like a heavy cream with milk or something like that.
And do you drink it, or do you eat it with a spoon, or what do you?
You drink it in a glass.
And what's it called?
Milk.
Well, they just call it milk, baked
Yeah,
milk.
baked milk.
They don't have any special Russian name for that.
Moloko.
Moloko. Have you ever seen that over here?
No.
Did you ever have it at your home, or did you just have it when you went to see the village? I was wondering, is it something common in Russia, or was it
Oh
unique
yes,
to this village?
yeah, in the villages, yes, they bake it. I guess it's like a treat to get that kind of milk. No.
And it's rose colored?
Yeah,
What makes it rose colored?
baking.
Baking it makes
Yeah.
it rose colored?
And the crux.
Uh-huh. when you say that you went to these villages, tell me how you got to the villages and how you traveled around the villages.
Well, when we went over there, the first village, we went by sled in the wintertime.
It must have taken you a long time to get there.
No, we went by train first.
Oh, by train first.
By train first,
And then you got in a sled.
Right.
Tell me
And
what this
we
is.
made this circle with, 17 villages. It's a long circle around, You don't spend too much time, but
On
they reach you.
these sleds, were the sleds, like, did your father drive the sled, or
No.
was there a driver that drove the sled?
Driver doesn't.
And how many horses?
2.
2 horses? So it was like you and your father and the driver, or were there someone else in the sled? I'm trying to see a picture of it.
Driver's in front.
Uh-huh.
And then the seats in the back. You can see 4 people there.
Was it an open sled, or was it
Open,
covered?
Open, not covered.
How do you stay warm? It must be
Well,
real
they have
cold.
covers with the fur blankets, like.
Now, did your father grow up in those villages, or did he grow up somewhere else? Where did your grandfather live, your father's father?
I think it's in St. Petersburg. The whole family of his is St. Petersburg family.
Do you remember your father's father? Do you remember your grandfather?
No.
When you went up to see those villages, you didn't stop in to see your grandfather?
No, I've seen all strange people that owned, they rent them or whatever it is.
But they weren't any relatives that you saw during that trip. So, did you ever see anyone from your father's side of the family?
It must have been, because of the parties that we had in the house. There was a lot of people there that I didn't even know who they were, And probably, I'm positive there was some.
But you don't remember your paternal grandparents
No.
at all?
No, I don't.
Or aunts or uncles or
No.
anything like that? But do you
Everything from
remember?
my mother's side, I remember.
Do you remember your mother's
Oh, yes.
parents? And
Yes.
let's see. Now,
But we were very close,
did you say that you vacationed with them?
for sure.
Didn't you
We
say
have a
that?
summer home
Uh-huh.
right next to theirs. It's about 20 miles from Kiev. Dacha, called Dacha.
A dacha, yeah.
Dacha.
And it was close to Kiev. How far is Odessa from Kiev?
200 miles, I guess.
So, your grandparents would come to the dacha
Yeah,
to vacation?
right.
Did you ever go to Odessa?
Very, very seldom. I would never have peacocks.
Oh, you told me about
Oh,
that
Jesus.
before, yeah. Tell me about the
Says that
peacocks.
it's JCB.
Was that when you were really little?
Yeah.
Take one of these. Tell me about the peacock story. They were out
Very
at the...
pretentious, like on the Black Sea. The summer home, swimming pool and all this.
Did you spend your entire summer there, or did you
No.
spend 2 weeks
just,
there? Or?
Just visiting a week, I guess.
But it was closer to Kiev than Odessa? The summer home?
No, wait a minute. It's in Odessa,
The summer home.
summer home, is on the outskirts.
Oh, I see. I thought you said that it was on the
Tsar's
outskirts
Palace
of
is right there too, Yalta.
Kiev. Yalta?
Yeah. Summer Palace,
And Odessa is on the Black Sea, right?
right.
I see.
And Yalta is too.
Now, Alex, tell me about the last time you saw your father.
The last time I saw him was, I think the same day I left. So we had a very bad experience. You see, just before the Kiev was under siege with Bolsheviks, you see. And they come in, and what they do, they pick out all the people that have any kind of a name or something and arrest them, you see. So they arrest him and put him in the garages or whatever it is. And my father was one of them. But the whites came in right after him and chased him out. The last thing they did, the machine gun, the place where got all these people, and probably half of them were killed. My father survived.
Now, who machine gunned, the Reds did, the Bolsheviks?
Bolsheviks, yes.
Oh, they were, I want to get this straight because it's important, that before the whites came in and chased the Bolsheviks out, the Bolsheviks tried to kill the people they had captured?
Right.
I'll get that. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a minute. Let's stop this. Well, you said that your father survived that,
Right.
where he had been captured by the
By the Reds.
Reds.
Right.
They'd taken him to some place.
Yeah, and, some storage place right near us, near the house.
And they killed some of the people
Oh
that he
yes,
was with?
a bunch of them were killed. Some friends of my father were killed.
Did they come take him out of your home? Were you there when they came to take him, or did you just show up one day after school and he wasn't there?
I don't remember the details of where they got him. I think in the store. They got him in the store.
Did he, obviously it must have been a surprise to him. Was he, did he think that the Bolsheviks wouldn't as strong as they were, or wouldn't do that? Do you think that he was feeling?
Oh, they're dead against it.
Yeah.
He's dead against it.
And he was going to stay.
Still for Tsar, and all this kind of thing.
He felt that the whites would prevail.
Right.
What happened when he came
And
home?
we almost did. I don't know, but I think he came back and his hair turned white.
Yeah, I think you told me that. That his hair was brown and came back and his hair was white.
Right. Yeah.
What did he do upon returning? Did he try to make plans to get out of Russia, or did he?
Well, we were day to day, we were taking news and who, where they are, and all this kind of a thing. Then the White Army were coming in and chased the Red ones out.
Well, but when was it that you went into the Army? You were in the Army, right?
Right.
I thought your father put you in the Army.
Yes.
How did that happen?
How it happened? We were home talking, and Father said that it looks like the White Army is going to move in and out towards south. And the General Wrangel was in charge of this area, who was a very good friend of my father. And so he said, let me talk to him and see if I can make arrangements for you to join his headquarters. See, he was on the railroad station. His trains were there. And, he did, and he said everything is all right. He says you go over there and the General Wrangel's quarters or whatever, or office or whatever it is, and he'll know all about it and he'll take care of you or something like this, you see. And the Reds were shooting the lights of everything at the same time in the city. It was that close, you see. So my father said, better don't wait, go. Go over there. And I said, I'll get you, I'll follow you as quick as I could, or something like this. So I got there, and sure enough, they were very receptive to me. I'm in my gymnasist form and everything. And they give me a place where I can stay or whatever it is. And, but we're supposed to leave at midnight, I'll say approximately, you see. And I got there at 8 o'clock in the evening, you see. And at 9 o'clock I decided to go, to move.
Uh-huh.
So my father was supposed to meet me.
To
but
say goodbye or...
He never met it. Never met.
That's so sad. Well, when you're talking about the train, that's, you left on a train,
Right.
right? With other troops? I mean, you didn't have any military training, did you?
Partly they have a part of the training for a parade, you know, carrying a rifle.
Did you have a rifle?
Oh,
Did
yeah.
they give you a rifle?
No, not anything right there.
Then what happened after you left so it was like the entire White Russians army left Kiev,
Right.
and then obviously the Bolsheviks came back.
They come back, but not for long because they chased them out after that. Anyway,
But not the group you were with.
no,
Where was the group you were with going?
south.
South to do what?
We went aiming to Crimea,
Uh-huh.
you see. And,
What were you going to do in Crimea?
to make a stance,
Oh, I see.
you know, get all the armies up there and all this kind of thing.
What, do you remember the day or the month that you got on that train and you left Kiev forever?
It was, let me see, it was almost the winter time, maybe January or February. Yeah,
It was cold.
February, oh yes, no. And, well, anyway, the train was aiming to go way south, but they couldn't make it because the Reds cut the line or whatever it is. So the train stopped in the middle of nowhere, and then our orders were, we were negotiating at headquarters for all kinds of rumors, negotiating with Romania to see if we can have a passage to Romania. It's almost on the border of Romania. And they will not give any positive answer, you see. And General, he said, well, we cannot waste any time because with his train, there are several trains following him.
Oh,
It is all out. I think it was 7,000 or 8,000 people. With the part of his army, with artillery and everything else. You see, and they all get out. And the final result was, we'll continue the negotiation, but we'll march. It used to be called Ice March.
the Ice March?
Ice March, yes. And we went through the border of Romania by the river and follow north. And the headquarters still negotiating, and they got contact with the Allies. And the Allies got in touch with Poland, and they got a permission to let us in Poland on temporary basis, and then we'll come back to Crimea.
Okay.
You see. And well, anyway, it was terrible. Walking, snow and all that kind of a thing.
Well, tell me about what it was like to walk.
Disorganized. Well, a lot of wagons, a bunch of them almost empty.
Well, they were horse-drawn wagons?
Oh yeah, yeah. And the part of cavalry was done in Cossacks, which is one of the top units in the Russian.
So Cossacks were there with you?
Yeah, they were not with us.
And they were with their horses?
Right.
The rest of you were walking, right?
Right. On the wagon. Then they have artillery, and some of them ride with the artillery boxes.
Tell me about the Cossacks.
Huh?
Tell me about what the Cossacks were like.
Well, they are, as a tradition they carry for centuries. They were given land by the Tsar, gratis, no payment or anything, you see.
No taxes,
And
no.
the understanding that they are to serve in the Russian army and furnish their own equipment and their horses. That's what I recommended, to have a different kinds of thing, different uniforms and all this kind of thing.
Were they really bigger than regular people?
And size?
Yeah.
No,
I thought that you said the Cossacks were big,
Well,
mean.
no, not they're big, but not. Maybe it's the uniforms they were.
Did you ever talk to any of the Cossacks?
Oh, sure.
Okay, well, did you get to Poland?
Finally, we got to Poland. And in the meantime, and walking, we stopped with the headquarters. I'm still with the headquarters unit, and they assigned the village, and they open up all the villagers. Welcome, and once they get in their house, lay down on the floor or whatever you can. This particular time, it was snowing, and my boots got wet. So everybody that was in the room ahead of me, they already took their boots, and they put it all around the stove, you see. And I took mine, and it wasn't in your room for mine, but I saw a string, like for way holding the towels, right over the stove. So I tie up the boots and put my boots over it. See. And fell asleep actually, and all of a sudden there were machine guns right through our windows. The Reds are still on the side of us, or whatever it is. So everybody started to get up and try to get their boots and to get out. See? And I got to mine, and my boots were burned.
Oh no! What did you do?
Well, nothing. I had thick socks, and that's it. You see. But it took me a little bit longer. I was almost last one out. Not barefooted, but almost with the socks. And was strung along up. You can see the line where they're going and all this kind of thing. Finally, I was so tired walking, Occasionally I'll get to just have a little mound of snow and sit down and try to rest up and keep going. But this is something happened. I'm all alone. There's nobody walking with me. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden I see a horse. Horse with a saddle and no rider. Nowhere somebody was killed or whatever. And I'm trying to get the horse come close to me.
You still didn't have any boots on?
No boots. And somehow, I don't know, the horse had a sense or anything. The damn thing just came right to me.
He did?
Yeah. I took his reins, and I look at him and said, what am I going to do? Try to pull him or what? Then I figured out, I said, I have to get up on him. So I found a spot with a bunch of snow, and I built up a little stand with the snow, you see. As hard as I could. Didn't work too good because I stepped on it and then my feet went through it, stepped all over again. And finally, somehow that horse is really something. He let me hold him the way I wanted to get on, barefoot, to get in the stirrups. And I just climbed with everything I had and finally got on the top of the horse.
Then where did you go with the horse?
The horse went right ahead.
The horse knew where to go?
Well, apparently they followed the line or whatever. I had reins, but I just hold on to it. And finally we saw this big string of wagons. So I said, this is it. I see the river on the left side, so I said, but I'm safe or something like this. finally got to the wagons, and they saw me, and they saw, Jesus Christ, he has no boots. They pulled me off the horse and throw me on the wagon, covered up with the blankets. They took the horse. I don't know what happened to the horse. And anyway, we continued to go this way.
Well, where did you get any boots? Did you get any boots?
Not right away.
How long? Like, how long did you go without boots?
Couple days, I guess. I was in the wagon sitting with the blankets, so I didn't.
Didn't care, really.
Finally,
Probably in good shape.
Finally, I found out where my headquarters are, General Wrangel, and the word came that second village will be the stop for his.
Oh, I see. So you
whatever it is, so I'm right back.
You joined up with them again.
Oh yes. I got in there with and I told them who I was. Everything is fine. We have to get your boots somehow, you know.
Yeah.
And I found out that my legs just felt numb. So the woman that lived in the house, he said, "Let me see your feet." She said, "They don't look good." See.
I bet.
And I didn't see there was any mark on it, like a red or anything like that. But she said, let me see what I can do. She went to the closet somewhere and back, and come back with a goose fat, you see. And she just massaged my feet right up to the ankle, both feet. And boy, it felt good. And she said, cover up and stay warm, you'll be all right. And I think she saved my feet, otherwise they'll be probably frozen. Well, anyway, I was pretty comfortable then. Finally, they got my boots, not mine, but the new one.
Yeah.
And we start moving again, and we were very close to Poland. We got to Poland, and they did not meet us with the open arms, like, you know. Although we were not in their command or anything like that, you know. Already the orders were through to allies and everything else that will be there temporary. So they assigned us in the not a barracks, but like an open barbed wire all around, and inside the wooden houses, but very like a temporary build, you see. And inside they had what do you call them? Beds, but
Cots.
like. But plenty of room, and the main thing, they give us facilities to have food. We have some kind of a stew, I remember. I ate stew.
What?
Enjoyed it.
You like that stew?
Oh yes, it was delicious. And then 2-3 days we get used to the idea, and the meals were served regularly, and all we were getting news in our location. They had the news first, headquarters, what's going on, you know, how long we're going to be, where we're going, and all this kind of thing. So we finally got the information that we were going to go back to Crimea.
Well, Crimea, how far is Crimea from Poland?
Right by it.
Oh, it's you. So you were actually headed still in the right direction.
No. Here,
I thought maybe you were headed in the opposite.
here's your Poland right here. We were here, right there. We walk like this, and back again, and then here. And from here to here.
It's kind of a long way to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not a direct route. I need to get a map, Alex. Alex, I've got to go because it's 4 o'clock, but we'll leave you in Poland. Okay, Alex, last time we left you, you were in Poland.
Right.
Now, you said that, when did you arrive in Poland? What month do you think you
Let me
arrived?
see, I'll tell you where. February, I think we were at the end of February, and we stayed March, February, March, and April.
So it was probably April by the time you left?
Maybe May, I think it was May. It was summer, May.
Were you just waiting for something to happen? You weren't really doing
No.
anything in Poland,
We
right?
were interned behind the net,
Oh.
wire net, and
You couldn't go anywhere?
just like prisoners, only we were on the friendly side.
Right. Did you have enough to eat?
Oh, yes, yeah, plenty of food now.
And then, okay, what happened? Then how was it that you left Poland?
Well, the Allies made arrangements somehow to bring the Wrangel's unit back to Crimea.
Now, when you're talking about Wrangel,
It's our unit.
how do you spell his name?
W-R-A-N-G-N.
Wrangel?
G-L.
Wrangel.
Wrangel, yeah.
Wrangel. Okay.
And so they give us word to get ready, and the whole unit put on the trains, and we went to the back of the Black Sea there. And from there we took a boat, big one, and within an hour we were in Crimea.
You left Poland by train,
Right.
then you
True, I
arrived.
wish I could, if I look the name of that place, where it is, it's there.
Let me look at this map, but this map doesn't have a lot of,
No, I know it.
was it a big city or was it?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, the only one that I see was it close to Odessa?
yeah,
There's Kishinev,
no,
but that's not on the, you say right on the sea?
right on the sea.
Yeah, and Romania, there's
Could be Sevastopol, I don't know.
Sevastopol, yeah, well, that's one you said.
Yeah, that could be Sevastopol.
Sevastopol. And then, now what do you mean you got on a boat and then you went to Crimea? Where's Crimea? I thought that was an area.
Crimea is right on the Black Sea.
But that's a whole area.
The whole area, yeah.
Well, where, you got on the boat like at Sevastopol and then you,
No, from this side, it's a different country, I forgot the name of the country.
was it
Next
Romania?
to Romania, yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, there's a city in Romania called Constanta.
Something like that, I don't remember now.
Mm-hmm.
And from Constanta we went to Constanta to the Sevastopol.
Mm-hmm. I see. Oh, I see, yeah.
Then they brought us to
I see.
Crimea.
Well, that makes sense because here, Romania is sort of on the the western shore of the
Right,
Black Sea,
right.
and Sevastopol is kind of north and in the middle.
Right,
Yeah, so that makes sense that you'd take a
right.
boat. Now, was Odessa? Was that already taken over by the Reds? Is that why you couldn't go?
No.
Odessa was-
still in our hands.
Mm-hmm. So you did.
This is the home of the Suvorovs,
Yeah, right. Where
right
your
there,
family
and
is.
the factories and everything is there.
I see. Well, what happened when you got to Sevastopol?
They brought us to the front, right near where the fighting was going on.
Now, when you said yesterday, last time we talked, that when you arrived in Crimea,
All right, they met us.
they were meeting you with a hero's
Right,
welcome,
right.
and then what happened? And was this when you got off the boat?
Right.
Not when you got off the train, but when you got off the boat.
The boat.
Uh-huh.
And they brought us to barracks, some kind of a barracks, whatever it is. They give us the new uniforms, whatever we need, And the very next day, they decide that we have to go to front.
Mm-hmm. And how far away was the front? Was it right there?
Oh, yes. Within maybe 10 miles.
I see.
They were very close.
So this was April or May when you got to Crimea?
May.
Okay, so you arrived there in May. Okay, then you went to the front, and what happened at the front?
No, I didn't spend much time because they give us an area, you know, and I was in a strange unit. I didn't know anyone, you know. And they told us that we were going this way, and there's a lane, you're gonna stay, get some trenches made up.
Trenches?
Yeah, dug in.
Dig into the ground,
Dig in the ground. And on the very next day, the Bolsheviks came close so we can fire right from there. You see. And then after a while we had a command to get up and start going forward.
Oh, I mean, you were actually advancing on the enemy?
Right, advancing on the enemy.
This is the first advancing you've
Right.
done on the enemy, wasn't
Right,
it?
right. And within the same day, I don't know how many hours it was or whatever it is, you don't see anything. Once in a while you see something, just a couple of shots and keep going, you know. And your supervisors behind you, officers and all this kind of a thing. The machine guns put in place, and small artillery and all this kind of thing. So, and one of these things was in the daytime, I don't remember what time it was. We ran into a bunch of Reds right in front of us. So we started to fire as much as we can, the machine guns and going and everything else. And then I felt that something hit me in the leg, and I fell down. And I lay down and I see it was blood running right in the pocket, the right hand, he said. And then the Red Cross came along, the soldier or whatever it is, and two of them, they picked me up and carried me to the next wagon and back to the Yalta, right? Place where you
Would that be on the map somewhere?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, it sounds
Temporary
familiar.
headquarters.
Okay, I see it,
Yalta,
yeah.
yeah.
It's all in the same area.
That's where the Tsar's palace was.
Was it
Huh?
summer home
Summer home, yeah.
on the Black Sea in
Yeah,
Yalta?
yeah.
So the Red Cross got you and took you to Yalta.
From Yalta, right in the hospital.
Uh-huh.
In the Tsar's
wait a minute.
palace. It
I
took
want-
the Tsar's palace and turned into hospital.
Oh, well, so you were on the front line for about a day, right?
That's
You didn't stay there
Yeah,
very long.
no.
You didn't have a chance to kill any Bolsheviks then, huh?
Maybe I did, I shot plenty.
Maybe you did. Okay, let's see. So you're in the Tsar's palace, is the hospital.
Yeah, they turned it made a hospital out of it.
Uh-huh. How long were you there?
Beautiful. Well, I don't know what they operate on me there. Yeah, they did operate on me there. So the bullet gets stuck right in the hip bone. So they cut me open from the back and pulled the bullet out. It so happened that I have a dinner spoon in my pocket, and the bullet hit the tip of the spoon, I guess. And that's why it didn't break the bone. It just stayed there.
Oh.
They pulled the bone out, and I was recuperating from the operation, listen to the news, and it wasn't any good. There are more and more Reds coming on this front. But I didn't have enough armed forces to really cover up the front. It's miles long. And then probably a month later, I've heard that the Reds broke the line and we have to evacuate. And in the hospital, we were the first ones to go, right to the boat. And the funny looking boat is like a barge or something, just put the Red Cross on it. And all the hospital staff there, and an American ship pulled us off and left us in the middle of a Black Sea. And went back again to pick up some more, whoever was available. And we were drifting for almost two days, I guess, in the middle of a Black Sea. And
what happened to the people when were back on the shore? Was there fighting there?
It was terrible, yes. People were killing themselves, and they couldn't get away. No boats or anything, The Americans come in, and British ships come in and pick up as many as they could. And that was the end. The next thing we came in to Constantinople.
Well, now you drifted out there for 2 days. Were you feeling were you still sick, or were you recuperating pretty well?
I was sick, bandages, and I had a spot on the beam and looked down the bottom of a barge or whatever it is, and that's where they had the operating table and whatever under me, like. See, and once in a while somebody would come by and say that be sure you change the bandages, I give you bandages, and I have to sit down and change my own bandages, and this kind of thing. But I really didn't feel too bad.
You weren't probably as bad a shape as some of them.
Kind of a thing, it hurt, but not that much. And then we got to Turkey like this.
So what did they do? Did they come back and just pull the barge into Constantinople?
Right.
What they did?
Oh yeah. And the English, they had the English barracks there, so right near Constantinople. My brother's there.
Oh, what?
English, under England. English territory or whatever it is. The barracks and some facilities there. And it was made into Red Cross, like a hospital, And that's how it stayed there.
Now, there was a story, now maybe it was a story about somebody else, but I remember it before I get out of this. I thought that, like, you were going across frozen rivers and the ice was breaking on either side, and do you remember anything like that happening?
Oh yes. And we were going to Poland by the river. I forgot the name of the river. You can look at the map and see. It's right on the border there.
It doesn't have the rivers.
No.
It doesn't say much about the rivers. Okay, but there was a river.
It's a big river.
Yeah, it shows rivers, but it just doesn't show the name of the river.
Yeah, all right. That's how it is. It was, see, we're negotiating with Romania to get us across, and they would come on the board and officers and all this kind of thing. And by that time, I got into my own area, the headquarters, and they will not give any definite answer and they have to have meetings and all this kind of a thing. And the general said that we are in a desperate situation because we are surrounded by Reds, you see. And I don't know how soon we can go, how we can pull all the artillery and everything else. It was a murder. It was a murder. It was let me see. It was February, I think, or March, February, I think. And the snow was plenty of snow there. And the place that there's no roads or anything is like this. And you have this artillery try to go through there, and they have a 10, 15 guys holding
That's okay, but this is anything.
back of a gun, and then try to get 15 more to push it up, and all this kind of a thing.
Well, before you'd been on the train,
Oh, yes.
but now you weren't on the train. You were just on foot, right?
Right.
Well, what about the frozen river and the ice breaking and all that sort of thing?
Well, somebody was gonna take a chance because we still had the wounded and the wagons, you see. And somebody, I don't know whether they had authority to do it or not, they decided they're gonna go across the river. See, when they start going, then the Romanians open up artillery.
The Romanians did?
Romanians, yeah.
They weren't your allies.
They wouldn't let us go through, so that's why they broke the ice in the river. I think a couple of horses with the wagons went underwater there or something like this. I don't know.
So were you there? Were you crossing the river too?
No, I wasn't with the headquarters unit.
Oh, I see. But that was a different division?
Yeah.
They didn't have any, because the Bolsheviks were chasing them, and so they had to cross the river?
Well,
they got
they were, yes, but we were protected. We still had about 6,000 cavalry, Don Cossacks with us to protect us.
Did the Cossacks go to Poland with you?
No. No, wait a minute. They did or not? I think they did. I think everybody did. They treat us pretty bad. They got this huge barracks, and they had you have to take everything off, all your uniforms, underwear, everything, you know. And I don't know what they do with it, but it sterilizes it, you know, something. Then you go and take a bath, and they spray you with some kind of a thing and all this kind of thing. When you come out, they break a bunch of uniforms or whatever you wear, and they were terrible.
Those uniforms were?
Huh?
You mean the new thing, the new clothes they made you wear?
Right.
They weren't your old uniforms?
No. The process for the
Internment?
they put them in a, how would you say it, like a bath. Bath, and the other one is sterilizing thing. They sterilize everything in there. Then after you finish it, they give you whatever you have, you see, if you find it. And it was terrible color and everything, you know. But I had no choice.
Sounds like you didn't have a lot of choices. Okay, well, then we're moving right along, Alex. Now, we can talk about New York. We can talk about anything you want. Or do you like to go chronologically? Do you like to kind of keep in mind where you're going next?
Whatever you want to do.
Well, I think it's interesting. Tell
I
me.
was going to say, maybe you'll be interested. It was almost a style to have a summer home, if you're anybody, you know. And the Kyiv itself, around the Kyiv, all that area was developed for this particular summer home.
Kiev or Odessa? I thought Odessa was where people went for summer homes.
No, this is on the sea. We're
Uh-huh.
going back to to
Kiev.
Kiev.
Mhm.
And the almost anybody you know have the summer home,
Yeah.
which is not far from your home. They have a special trolley cars. They go express to the spot where they call it dacha.
Mhm.
Dacha. And they you spend the summer to bring your stuff. About 4 people. It's not pretentious or anything like this, but big.
Mhm.
You know. I don't remember. I know we have 4 people working up there. 2 in the house and 2 in the garden. And the house itself is like a sprawling thing, you know,
Mhm.
but not pretty, I wouldn't say. You know.
Mhm.
I think the best looking thing there was a fence
Yeah.
of the area, you know.
Uh-huh.
It's a white and red fence. And then the big thing, I think they must have about 6, 7 bedrooms. And the veranda was a big attraction.
Mhm.
Seats, I think you have 4 tables you put together to make a one long table. But the benches on both sides, and you can sit probably 25, 30 people. And there's plenty to do there because it's really interesting. Because when you get off the veranda, you know, and then you walk in front of you, all that area is developed. You see, almost scientifically. I don't know how long.
Let me take this. Keep talking.
Yeah, maybe, I'd say maybe 30, 40 yards long
Mhm.
and maybe 50 yards wide and back again this way. And there are 3 distinct lanes. 1, 2, 3, full length, with the benches, you know. And in certain spots they have a big table you can sit down and play cards and something like that, you know. And along the entrance, that fence is all berries,
Uh-huh.
all kinds of berries that you never see ordinarily, you know, some little red things,
Mhm.
gooseberries or something.
I was not gonna have to change the battery.
Red. And that when you come to the left side, it's a garden, flowers and all this kind of thing. And there's a vegetable garden, like squash, potatoes, not too many things, you know. And after that, there's bigger bunches of raspberries,
Sounds wonderful.
strawberries, and all this. Yeah, it looks beautiful. It's all trimmed, taken care of, and all this kind of a thing.
So were these, you call them
And-
dachas?
Dacha.
Dachas.
Dacha.
The dachas, so it was like a development of them.
Oh, yeah.
And all of those had the same
Right.
fence around them and,
It's really beautiful.
mhm.
And on the back side, you go towards, but you're near the home. There's 1 row of cherry trees, the black cherries, yellow cherries, and all this kind of thing. Then apples, and then pears, and some trees were very valuable or something, very close to the house. And they have nets underneath the tree. You see. And the apples, they call them snowdrops or something. they fall on the ground, then they break up to nothing left, just the pieces. That's why they put this
To catch them?
nets to, no, just get them in the morning, pick them up. When they hit the net, they stay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
So that way
Yeah.
they can pick them up, huh?
yeah, and you have to eat right away, that kind of deal.
So you have to eat a lot of those apples,
Then on
huh?
the side of it was like a little bit of a gymnasium with rings and parallel bars and all this kind of thing. Then there were two swing machines, that you sit down, one on each person and you swing like, And on the side is a croquet field to play very good when they're all taken care of,
Well, I have a question while I'm thinking about this. And so, is this where you spent your summer? At this place, or did you spend your summer closer to Odessa?
Here, as much as I could, because we don't have much summer. Because you go to school towards August, that's all.
Now, did your grandparents from Odessa come up to that dacha?
Their dacha was right next to ours.
Right there, close to Kiev.
No, right next to our dacha.
Yeah, right.
Our fence, and they're next to us.
I see.
Much more elaborate, built and everything else. And then we go, I mentioned the father's family. They did come in early probably when I was out in school. I couldn't get there, but they stayed there 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and this kind of thing.
Did you have a lot of cousins?
Oh, yes, yeah.
You don't know anything that's happened to any of your cousins?
I can't think of their names or anything.
Were you like one of the older ones or one of the younger ones of all the children? Did you have little cousins or big cousins?
They had everything, yeah. The little ones. I can't remember the name.
So you didn't get to spend much time out at the summer home because you're
No,
going to school
no.
all the time.
That's right.
Now, you said that you go to school, was August was the only month you didn't go to school, or?
Yeah, that's right.
Just 1 month?
In September we go there.
Let's see. But your grandparents lived in Odessa. Parents?
Yeah.
I see. Now, did you go to Odessa to see them?
Yes. I enjoyed that place.
What was their home like in Odessa?
It's beautiful. It's all stone and it's right on the waterfront,
Well, I'm thinking of it. Write down their tell me how to spell their last name. Your mother's last name.
S-O-U-V-O-R-O-V-A. Suvorova.
Suvorova. Okay.
Suvorova.
Suvorova.
The name of the firm was Suvorov. That's the V. V, you see. I think V is Suvorov, established in 1821. Was on everything that was manufactured.
And that was your grandfather's, or who established it? Did your grandfather or your great grandfather?
There were so many of them.
There were lots of family members involved in the business.
Oh, yes. Everybody had something to do, and they manufacture everything in the different places. We did. My father took me one time, and the mushrooms. Mushrooms, they have an area of the river, the Dnieper River from Kiev.
What's the name of the river?
I just mentioned.
I don't know. I wish you could get a better map and then we can look at it. Okay, well, he took you to where they,
On the boat,
Your
yeah.
mushrooms?
On the boat, mushrooms. They have this kind of a thing. You have everything is measured there. All the villages and all the thing. And you bid for a certain location yourself, you see. And once you pay for all this area, is under your control. So everything that they bring, all the mushrooms come to you see. And then they have a set up factory.
so when you go out to buy a mushroom farm, you're actually buying a village.
They bring it in the yes, in the baskets.
Now, do you own the land, or?
No.
You
just rent it
So you are,
for the season, for just a mushroom season.
I see.
You see. And they all know that. So what they do, they go picking up mushrooms at a certain time of the day and bring them in. And they just keep bringing it in the basket.
Well, mushrooms are perishable.
Oh yes, but they
You
are
have to work fast.
they're immediately put to work right away. They have a lot of the whole factory is set up, and the part of it is on the outside with the water, running water, and the little little tubs for sucking the mushrooms and washing them and all this kind of thing.
Well, then do they can the mushrooms? What do they do with the?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they can the mushrooms.
Can
I see.
Canned mushrooms and stock them up in the boxes, 24 in the case or something like that. Stock them up and then ship them back to Kiev.
Wouldn't those be delicacies? Did people eat a lot of canned mushrooms, or were they delicacies?
Not so much.
I mean, because even here, canned mushrooms are a delicacy, really.
Yeah. Not
Is that right?
anybody can buy it in the store, you know.
I see. One time you told me a story that was interesting. It was about, I guess, how you celebrated Christmas.
Yeah.
And how the men went around from house to house,
Right,
and each house
right.
had a buffet, and what you were wearing, and what your mother was wearing. And can you remember to tell
Right.
some more about that?
Yeah.
What a Christmas was like.
Well, Christmas is about mostly church, church services. And,
Did you have Santa Claus?
oh yes, sure. And in the house you have a Christmas tree and all this kind of a thing. And all the house. And on the Palm Sunday, the church used to bring, and they put palm all over the floors. I remember that. You kind of, when you walk, you can break your neck.
Yeah.
You see, but that was one of the traditions. And the icons are always lit up, almost to dress up the wall, And the whole preparation is the table itself.
Now, are we talking about Christmas or Easter?
Christmas. The traditional things are usually ham and turkey, chicken, and hors d'oeuvres, caviar, and all this kind of thing. And it's all on the one end of a table, the dining room. And then you have a girl in the check room to receive the guests. And it's all day they come in and visit us. They come in, usually one at a time. And my mother meets them at the door when they get out of a check room. And my father is out or something, she'll tell him where he is. And then she escorts him to bring him to a dining room or the living room. There's a little spot in the living room. We had with family albums and all this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes in the dining room, and usually the family, whoever is around, sits with him.
Mm-hmm.
They're not eating, but just to join in,
Mhm.
in whoever he is. Most of the time, you don't even know who they are. You find out the names, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people we knew, children, we know who they are.
But it was like just the men that came to visit,
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
just
The women stayed at home and
Right,
had the
that's
table
right,
and the-
That's right, that's right.
everything ready, but it would just be like a
That's
man or a
right.
man and his son.
That's
Would the
right.
son go with him? or-
Yeah. No, by himself.
Mhm.
And they, if it's in Christmas, sometimes it's snow, then you have a sled decorated with a net, with the pompons, you know.
Mhm.
And
Now, that was a question I had. Is Kiev fairly mild or is it very cold in Kiev?
oh, cold Christmas.
Is there always
Oh,
snow
yeah, yeah.
at Christmas time in Kiev?
Yeah. And the father has a list how many stops he has to make it, you know. And he goes off in the morning and you don't see him until late that night.
Well, at every stop, did they drink vodka? Was vodka something that they drank a lot of
they
vodka?
drink some, but baby, I have to be very careful because it's too many stops, you know.
I think so.
Yeah, you have to be very careful. And to make it to last that
Yeah,
long,
I think
you
the
say.
last stop.
But usually when he gets in, I guess he had enough.
You'd had enough. But was vodka something, was that, did your father drink vodka? Did everybody drink vodka? Was
Not
vo-
necessarily.
Not necessarily?
No, it was a wine, you know, wine, champagne, whatever they want.
But do you think they drank more vodka in Russia than other places, or is that just a?
Not on this occasion. And
Did they throw the glasses into the fire?
they're crazy. They do it.
Yeah. You don't remember them throwing the glasses into the
Yeah.
fire. Now, what would your mother wear? Or what would you wear on an occasion like that?
Well, I had in my uniform anyway. That's all.
You always wore your
Yeah.
school uniform even out of school.
Yeah. Mother was always dressed up, nice dress.
At one time you were telling me that you had like patent leather shoes on and velvet
Oh, when I
pants
was a
and coat
little boy, yeah.
when you were little before you went to
Oh, yeah,
school.
before I went to school.
Well, you also told me one time about that your father bought an ice box or a refrigerator.
Right. For the house.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That was unusual to have.
Oh, yes.
Was it an ice box or was it a refrigerator?
Ice box.
Uh-huh.
Ice box. You have to put ice cubes, ice things in it, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember he bought some pears, put them in the ice box
Mhm.
to have them nice cold.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is the wine, white wine.
What, he put the wine in the ice box? That's
Yeah.
why he got the ice box. It
Right.
wasn't for the pears, it was for the
Right.
wine.
Yeah, the wine.
Did you, where was it? Was the ice box, didn't you say it was like in the dining room?
Mm-hmm.
You put it in the dining room?
It's a decorative thing, you know.
Uh-huh. It wasn't like a kitchen appliance.
No,
It was
no,
more
it's fancy
a
looking.
fancy thing. Okay. Well, let's go back to Constantinople. You got off the barge.
Right.
And what time of the year was this? Was this in the summer then?
It was probably May, month of May.
Wasn't too long after you went to the front, right? A couple of days after
Right. And,
you'd done your service. Okay, so you were there, and what was it? Was that like being interned in Poland, or was it nicer, or was it worse, or how was that?
No, we were almost like an intern before I get out of it.
Right, yeah, I wanted to
You
do
know.
that part, uh-huh.
But that was nothing but the basement of some house or something, and wooden beds or something like that, and nothing, not a prison like, but they have the windows covered up with the wire
And there was a fence around it.
fence around it.
But do you say that now this was British territory?
British territory, yes.
So, was it an American ship that towed you over there, or was it
Right.
British? What was,
American ship.
so, were the British your allies then, or
Oh, yes,
what just?
yes, they were. They were allies, sure.
I see, I see. What about Turkey? Was Turkey an ally?
Turkey, yes.
I see. Okay, so you're at this camp. It's sort of
Right.
like a hospital camp,
Right,
isn't
that's
it?
what it is, yes.
It's a hospital camp. Everyone there had been wounded,
Right,
right?
that's right. And that's the time that people were anxious to get out, because not far from it you can walk to the Galata Bridge, and you are on the Constantinople.
And that's the name of the bridge, the Galata
Yeah,
Bridge?
the Galata Bridge.
Uh-huh.
And the other part belongs to, where we were, it actually belongs to Turkey,
Mm-hmm.
but the land is under British command. whatever it is. And I think I told you the story about the water.
Yeah, well, tell me again, because that's a good story.
It was everybody's turn to go and bring the water in, and it's outside, probably quarter of a mile away, something like this, and you walk with a wooden bar across with two handles like, and a big tub, and it takes two men to carry it, one on each hand, and so everybody hate to do it,
Sure.
So, sure. But I had a fellow that I was friendly with. He said, it's a good idea to get out of here. He said, what do you mean? He said, let's see, we go and get water. And we leave that for them to just go.
Uh-huh.
He said, good, wonderful, let's do it.
Uh-huh.
So I told somebody there that we're next to take that water.
How did, now, did he told you, or you told him that that's
Yeah.
how you were going to escape? Was it your idea or his
Yeah,
idea?
oh yeah, my idea was.
Now, how did you know? How did you know that you could leave? Did you notice that other people had left?
Somebody did, yes, yeah. We knew that was often the occasion that somebody left, the damn water left.
Nobody, the water didn't come back,
That's
right?
right. So we did the same thing, we left the water running and just kept walking, looking around, look at people looking at you. Probably knows what he's doing.
Uh-huh.
And we came here right to Constantinople on the main street.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first thing I found out, you can see the Russians. Talked to him. I said, "Where's the?" We had a consul there too.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the consul? Right there. So any information you wanted to tell you.
Mm-hmm. So is that where you went first? Was to the consulate?
Yeah, go to the consulate and tell them to register that we're going to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
We have no other place to go, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, well, we'll see what we can do and this kind of a thing. And then I found out that one of the restaurants up there, called the Grand Circle Muscovite, was a day place in the Constantinople to eat, all this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I have heard that there's
Right.
Russians.
You don't have to be afraid of it. We're just, this is very casual, Bettina.
Escaped, they came in before the Bolsheviks, and they came in with money.
Mm-hmm.
So they are the ones that organized and took the theater and made the restaurant out of a theater.
Oh, that's right, that's
With a
right.
stage, huge place.
I thought that was kind of a coincidence. I thought you were walking down the street or something, and then you just happened to see someone that had been a friend of your father's. Or didn't the person that owned it? I thought he had been a
Right.
friend of your father's or
Right.
somebody
Yeah.
that you
He's
knew.
one that he was carrying me on his shoulders when I was a little boy.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Kirillov. Kirillov, yeah. And I went over and talked to him. He was very glad to see me. He said, well, let's check and find something for you to do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Did he own that? Was that his
oh,
place?
Yes, oh, yes. There's three of them, three owners of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the main stays there. And I met the people and all this kind of thing. I still hurt. My leg was still kind of sore.
Mm-hmm.
So he said that you can't do very much walking. So I said, we'll put you on the elevator. They have in the kitchen. Kitchen is on the second floor, you see, or it might be a third floor. And with the dumbwaiters,
Mm-hmm.
you see, the food comes down, and there's a cashier there. You place the orders over the speaker, like
Mm-hmm.
to the kitchen upstairs, and they send food down, and you call to the waitress or waiter who has that.
Mm-hmm.
The station there, you can trace in, check the food out,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of a busy place. You have to keep your eyes open, you know, and all this kind of thing. But I did pretty good, I guess.
Where did you stay? Where did you live?
The first place, I think I hired a room, not maybe two, 3 blocks from there. Not a very good area or something, but it was a temporary thing, you know, like mostly for a day, you know.
Yeah.
or something.
Well, I want to talk. I got to go pretty quick, but I really want to get a good picture of this. What was the name of the restaurant again?
Grand Circle Muscovy.
Yeah, Grand Circle Muscovy, because I want to get a really good, clear
There's a
picture of what that was like.
Book is written on there.
There
on the
is?
restaurant. Oh, yes.
Oh, what it's called?
Called
Grand Circle.
Russian White Russians in exile.
Is that the name of the book?
Yeah,
Was that written about the time that you were there?
right.
So if I read that book, I would be able to kind of get an idea of what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
What was I going to ask you? That's such a great story about what was happening there. Well, when you were there, that's where you met some Americans, right?
Yeah.
Had you ever met any Americans before you had been to that
No.
restaurant? What did you think of Americans at that point in time? Did you think that they were barbarians or
No.
no? I mean, not barbarians, but
It was
were
the big ships always stop in Constantinople, see, and like cruise ships, you know, and all of them come in always at the same time, like 50 to 60 people making the reservation. And,
Now these were tourists.
yeah, tourists, that's right. And,
They were coming as tourists while
Either
the Russians were fighting
right.
this bloody war.
These are from Americans and all this. Yeah. And the embassies were big business for us.
Yeah,
See, they send their people, right? I did a lot of business with them eventually, because eventually I was assistant to the head waiter in the dining room, you know. I was able to walk better and all this. And so I met Admiral Bristol. He was the commander of American Sixth Fleet, and he was what do you call it? I can't think, but was just like a...
Was I naval
Rep-
commander or?
Huh?
Oh, I know what you're trying to say. An ambassador?
Ambassador, that's right, ambassador. And he's the one that brought a lot of business. And through him, I talked to his assistant. And she was very, very nice. I invited her for dinner one time, or lunch. And give her a complimentary lunch and all this. And the place was outstanding to look at it, you know. First we had, I think we had 16 hostesses there. They seat the people, you know. And how many waiters we had? The waiters were the colonels of the army and all this kind of thing.
From the Russian army,
Russian
right?
army. And there were so many, I think it was about 10,000 Russians there. And the talent was so abundant that you can get anything you want. So they had an orchestra on the stage, about 30 people orchestra in the restaurant. And then they had the producers of the show and all this kind of a thing, regular program. And they have lunch and dinner shows, supper shows. In the one room, the first floor was the balconies, like in the movies. And
Good.
they usually are reserved for 4 people, 6 people, or whatever it is. Then they have one room for a champagne room, with all Persian rugs and all this kind of a thing. So the business was tremendous, just tremendous. Well, the money that they made.
Well, Alex, you know what? I've got to go, but I want to really talk about that, and you know who was singing and who the
Right.
orchestra. And... Okay, you're on.
All right.
You said at Christmas. You said just now that you did wear other clothes other than your uniforms. Like at Christmas time, did you wear something,
Oh yeah, sure.
some fancy clothes?
All the time, not especially fancy, but usually it's custom-made shirts, like, you know, a lot of them silk, the design and things like that. And plain cotton, and I don't know the names of the fabrics, but most of them are custom-made, like, you know. And the same thing with the trousers, blue and gray and white and all this kind of thing, all kinds of shoes. But ordinarily during the year you don't you don't have much time anyway, because you come on, you have to still study at home, you know, and so you don't care what you wear, you know, just take the uniform and put anything. So, and as a matter of fact, I didn't go out too many times during the week. There's something going on, like an opera or something like that. Circus, theater.
Well, yesterday we left you at that big restaurant, the Muscovy.
Yeah, oh yes. That's right. You know, I was thinking about that. I'm going to ask Barbara, because this book is still in publication, I know it.
I need to get that one.
Oh yes, I'll get it. I'll try to
Ask
get
Barbara.
it.
Yeah, ask Barbara for me.
It's the name of it is Undoubted White Russians in Exile.
Undaunting.
Huh?
Undaunting or undaunted? Or
Undoubted.
undoubted.
Yeah. Fearless, you know, undoubted. That's quite a book. It's another one I want to ask him. It's a book by a Russian writer called Merezhkovsky. His book is Life of Leonardo da Vinci. It's fantastic to read in translation, you know, in English. I had that book, but I don't know what happened.
the undoubted Russians in exile. Did you read that book? Have you read that book?
Oh, yes.
Did you know the people that were they talking about specific people in that book?
Yes,
People that you
sure.
knew?
Yes, all of them. Sure.
Uh-huh.
Including your chef and the sous chef and all that. And the maitre d', he was the best maitre d' in Russia.
And this was this taken, was the place of this book, was it in Turkey? Was that where they were talking? It wasn't in New York City?
He's American correspondent,
Uh-huh.
see. And he was close to the embassy, Admiral Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
And so he spent a lot of time with us in the restaurant. And every time there's a boat comes in, from Britannia, big ones, tourists. Then they come in by hundreds of them. They come in.
The person who wrote this book, do you remember his name?
I don't. I met him in New York when I get to New York. Sure. And I've seen him many, many times. Yeah.
I see.
You see, besides the restaurant, they open the place in the summer, right in the city, but a little bit outside, not the main track, and made the restaurant out of that, overlooking the sea, overlooking the sea. And they made it. They spent a lot of money. I don't know why they did it. It's like an open air restaurant and a show.
Now, are you talking about Are you talking about the three people that owned the
That's right.
Circle Muscovy?
Right. They're the ones who decided to do that. So they put me over there to be in charge. And then they were taking the movies there. Some kind of dancing and all this kind of thing. Then the movies of somebody sitting at the table, and I come in with the menu and things like this.
Now this was outside of Constantinople.
Right, that's right. And the people you can come on a boat right to the restaurant. So the Navy people, not only United States but the French and Italian, they all have thousands of speedboats and all this kind of thing. And then they come in with the guests, make reservations and all that.
Oh, isn't that cute?
She gives a hell of a lot in the family. I'm driving that. Well, okay. I've interrupted you.
Well, I'll look at it. Okay. So, you were going to tell me about the type of talent that they had at the restaurant.
At the restaurant,
You were talking about the orchestra. You had a 30-piece orchestra.
Right.
Who?
And we had a ballet, members of a ballet, not the whole ballet, but the solo dancers, they have special numbers, like one man and one girl do a number and all this kind of thing. And then they had a dance things from, I forgot the name of it, the parts of a ballet, like, like a company of 4 people or something like that. And this all is on an open floor, like, because the rest of them all the way around it. So you're right in the middle. There's no decorations for a scenery or anything like that. You see.
Because it was in a circle, right?
Right. But people were sitting right next to you and see it. And then they had singers, famous singers in Russia. Big name people, and
So these people, were they just working for food, or were they?
we pay 'em, yeah, we pay 'em.
What about Was it difficult to have a job there, or what's difficult to get a job?
Oh, yes, yeah, abundance. This other day, they have anybody who need a cook, they send a chef. You know, the chef needs a job, so they'll take anything. So we had the chefs peeling potatoes in the restaurant.
I see.
And the chefs that are chefs are